What is up, guys? In today's video, I'm going to be going over several quick tips to hopefully help you play better and win more in Fortnite's new Simpsons season. As always, if you guys do enjoy this video, find it helpful, informative, or interesting, remember to give it a like, subscribe if you like to see more, comment down below what tip or helped you most so far this season, and if you guys would like to use my code in the shop when getting anything, it is EvolveJake, just like my channel name is, and it is underneath the webcam at all times. So the first thing we're going to talk about in this video is going to be how the bosses work, because there are 2 mythic weapons and 1 exotic weapon, and each of these weapons are incredibly good, but this exotic pistol is probably the best or most overpowered weapon this season. The way the bosses work is there's Homer, Marge, and Krusty, and in each zone, a boss will spawn. So in first, second, and third zone, for each of those zones, a boss will end up spawning. But it's random which boss will spawn in which zone, and it is also random where the boss will actually spawn. So this is completely different from how we've normally had things in Fortnite, where the bosses have set POIs or set spawn locations. And then another difference is going to be that the boss won't actually show on your map unless you're within 100 meters of that boss location. So it's very random when it comes to getting these mythic or these exotic weapons, but the exotic Krusty blaster is incredibly good, and as I said, it's probably the most or best, it's most overpowered or best weapon in the current loot pool. So Krusty drops that. Homer will drop a mythic tactical shotgun, which is very good, and the tac shotgun I think is definitely a solid choice this season. And then Marge will drop a mythic compact SMG, which is also very good. So I think each of these mythics and the exotic, very good, very much worth using, but it's just random when it comes down to getting them. I'll have a map on screen now of the potential spawn locations for these bosses. And as you see, they're all over the map. So I don't think there's really any sort of like consistent plan that you can execute to like just get these mythics every game. But if you do see the boss on the map, it's very much worth getting, or if you come across a player using it, I definitely think those items are worth getting. But I've had a lot of players ask me about those bosses and how to get the mythics, so I wanted to go over that first. Another really underrated thing this season, I think, is going to be the burgers. I think these are the best healing item in the game right now, and it's definitely my favorite to carry. The burger itself will heal you for 15 white health and 30 shield over time, like ticks up, which isn't the greatest, but it does go pretty quick, especially if you consume multiple of them. That effect kind of stacks and they all heal at the same time. It's not like a slurp juice where it resets. So you can eat 3 burgers really quickly. You're going to gain 90 shield off that, and you're going to gain it over time. So similar to like when we've had slurp juices in the game, where like if you pop this going into an important fight, you'll have a distinct advantage. I feel like the burgers work the same way, and they're just a good healing item. Also, when you have the plates of steamed hams around the map, if you go up to this is really nice because you could take a burger off of it, and they make it really easy to stock up on just a full stack of burgers, which is actually going to be 6 burgers, which is 180 shield that you can heal from the burger. So I think the burgers are my preferred healing item, especially if there's a plate of steamed hams, so I'm able to quickly get a full stack of them. And learning where these plates are in the POIs you enjoy landing at, I think, is definitely a huge advantage. One thing that's very strange and will likely end up getting fixed is that for this season, they actually buffed the bloom or the accuracy on the suppressed scar and made it a lot more accurate. Typically, the suppressed scar was a weapon that you had to tap fire or you had to burst because its max spread was very large. And if you just full autoed, you would hit that really quickly. But this season, they made it a lot more accurate and it's a lot more enjoyable to use. But this only applied to the white to blue versions. The purple and gold versions of the suppressed scar actually have the old bloom, which is much more significant, especially if you're going to be full autoing it. So at this point in time, I would actually rather take a blue suppressed scar than a purple or gold one. The purple and gold does have a little bit more damage. I think gold has like 33 and the blue and under has 30. But I would rather have 3 less damage on my AR and a lot better accuracy where I'm going to land more shots than just that little bit of extra damage. And this was actually left as a comment on the first video I made this season. So I was really surprised from that. One thing that I was really ignoring early on is going to be these mini quests that you can get from looting. Sometimes when you open a chest or a container, something extra will fall out, and picking this up activates a quest. And if you do the quest, you'll get extra loot. And these quests often don't take a long time to do. And especially if you get it off spawn, it's probably something you were going to do anyway. So like one of them requires you to damage somebody with a weapon that you have equipped when you pick up the challenge. And it's like, if you get this at the start of the match, you were probably going to damage somebody anyways, or have to fight somebody anyways, because these POIs are pretty populated, right? And by completing this, typically you'll get a high rarity weapon. One of them requires you to get produce. And as I said, they're easy to do and don't require you to go too far out of your way. So I was ignoring these mini quests the first few games I played, but I would definitely recommend picking them up. Another thing that I was fully unaware of is that there's slurp boxes around the map, and these function similar to barrels, where if you break them, you'll get shield. It's just any box on the map that says slurp on it. If you break it, you'll get shield. And some of the smaller ones only give you 5, which isn't that big of a deal. But some of the larger ones give you like 10 or more. So they're very comparable to barrels. And off spawn or in a pinch, this is something that can be really helpful. The best mobility this season is, or the most insane mobility at least, is going to be a combination of the slushy and the blank flopper. So the slushy gives you like a 0 gravity effect, gives you unlimited sprint, and I think improves your base movement speed. And then the blink flopper allows you to use dashes where if you double jump and press the direction you want to go, you'll do a dash. And combining the 0 gravity and better movement speed of the slushy with the blink flopper will allow you to travel around the map incredibly quickly. This is something that you have to dedicate 2 inventory slots to, so a lot of people aren't going to want to like go out of their way to carry this. But if you have one of these pieces and come across the other, or eliminate somebody who has both, it's definitely something that might be worth keeping in mind. Another really helpful piece of mobility is going to be cars. I think cars have been really good in zero build for a while. This map has a lot of open areas, and so having a car to, be able to traverse that without just getting like timing death, I think is pretty good. And when we have weapons like the blasty pistol in the loot pool or the infantry rifle, which hit very hard with a single shot, just getting caught off guard by an enemy using that can really ruin your game. So I want to have a car as often as possible. But one change Fortnite made to cars this season is that cars actually travel slower when you go off-road now. So this is how it was when cars were first added to Fortnite, but I believe Chapter 5 onward, it didn't really matter if you were driving on the road or driving off-road, you had the same speed. But in the Simpsons season, if you drive off-road, your car will actually travel slower. And so this doesn't mean you can't ever drive off-road, but it just might be something you want to keep in mind, especially if you're trying to get somewhere quick or escape an enemy. You're definitely going to want to use the roads. The exotic blaster pistol, as I said, is one of the not the best, if not the best weapon in the loot pool right now. And what this does is the first shot, if you shoot it when it's fully loaded, will attach a balloon to whoever is next to it when the shot goes off. So you can hit yourself with a balloon if you want. You can hit enemies with the balloon. You can also hit cars with the balloon, which is pretty surprising. But one really crazy thing is you don't actually need to hit the enemy to have this balloon attached to them. It's like an area of effect from where the shot hits. So if you have someone sitting behind cover, you can shoot the balloon next to their cover and potentially knock them up away from their cover into the air, and then just keep unloading on them with the pistol. The pistol has a pretty decent fire rate, so when you do attach a balloon to an enemy, you should be able to easily punish them with several hundred damage if they don't detach the balloon from themselves really quickly. And that is going to be our next tip. You need to be accustomed to what button it is to detach the balloon from you. I believe it's whatever your crouch button is. That's what it is for me. So my crouch button is right stick. And if I have the balloon on me, I need to click right stick to delete the balloon from myself. And it is very much important if you're dealing with somebody using this exotic that you get the balloon off of you as quick as possible, because if you're floating up in the air, you have no cover and you're a very easy target and you can get melted down incredibly fast by this pistol. And that's what makes this exotic so good. The balloon effect just really throws people off and really exposes them to a lot of damage. The fact that you don't even need to hit the enemy and can hit it on people behind cover is a big deal. You can hit cars trying to run away from you with it and make their situation weird. I also have liked this to shoot into bushes to potentially affect enemies and knock them out of the bush as well. This exotic pistol is just incredibly good. Another thing that's going to be a problem for a lot of players this season is third parties. This is one of the most third party centric seasons we've had in a while. I'm not sure if it's just because the season is new or because the map is small, or probably a combination of both. But third parties are very prevalent this season, and so whenever you are fighting, this is something you need to keep in the back of your mind at all times. You don't want to fight in situations where it's very likely you'll get third partied. You don't want to fight or keep chasing in a situation where you're kind of using too many resources to do it. Like if you were chasing an enemy and you had one shockwave left, it might be worth using that last shock to catch up to them and eliminate them, but it also might be best to, save that shockwave. That way you can reset versus a potential third party. And just know if you're shooting off and causing a lot of commotion, you're probably going to get third partied. Forecast is back this season. At second zone, the bosses will spawn at the radio towers, and if you eliminate the boss and put the card into the tower, you will get forecast and be able to see one zone in advance for the remainder of the game. This is really good, and it's definitely worth getting. But with how small this map is, do not ever expect to get this for free. There might be times where you get it for free, but just be on high alert the entire time you're trying to get this forecast tower, because with how small the map is, there's probably several people in the area that can quickly get there. When we had a much larger map and set locations for the radio tower, you would have people contesting you, but it wouldn't be like always, Whereas this season, I fully expect it to be a majority of the time. These towers are contested, and so be on high alert. Having a car really helps with this because you have that mobile cover. As I said, just never feel too safe on this map in general, but especially when getting the forecast tower. End game this season has been very slow. This is another thing that I don't really know if it's just because the season is new and people really want to win or they really want to get the umbrella. But a lot of these end games can kind of come down to patience, and this is an unfortunate kind of aspect, but a lot of times you just kind of have to play at the pace of the game. If you have a very campy end game and you force a fight, like let's say it's a 1v1v1, if you go in and force a fight, you could maybe get that kill, but a lot of times you're just exposing yourself to a potential third party. That's kind of what like everybody is playing for in these end games. It's like a game of chicken of who's willing to wait longer or, make that engage at the wrong time to just get hopped on and third partied. So as I said before, with, getting third partied, it's something that you always need to think about, especially in the end game. These end games play out a lot slower. One thing you kind of can do if you have extra shockwaves is shockwave enemy players around, because when you have these like really stalematy passive end games, throwing a shockwave and forcing somebody into a bad spot might get them attacked, and then you can kind of third party that fight. The balloon pistol is also really good at just forcing people to do things in the end game, but it can get you focused from time to time. One thing I think a lot of people need to do this season is just look at kill counts a bit differently. I've seen a lot of people unhappy that like they feel like every game they're playing is a really low kill game. Like they're like, I'm only winning with 5 kills. I'm used to getting like 10 plus. But with the ratio of how many players are on this map, it's much harder to get high kill games because there's just less people. It's 80 people max on this island, but a lot of times it's even less than that. It'll be like 60 to 70 players to start a game. And a lot of people are just dying off spawn because there's so few POIs. So it's a bit harder to get high kill games this season, or not even harder, but just like less likely because people are dying out in the way player distribution works. So don't be too hard on yourself about kill counts. With a 100-player lobby, 10 kills is a tenth of the lobby, right? With this player count, that would be 8. But a lot of times, as I said, the total amount of players spawning into the match isn't even 80. So this is just something that if you have been kind of feeling bad about how many kills you've been getting, might need to just be something you need to reconsider or think about differently. There is like a mini game at the power plant POI where it'll start to melt down. I believe this happens after first zone, but it'll start to melt down. And there's a little poster outside that'll show you the combination you need to put in. There's like different colored shapes. And then you go to Homer's computer, put in those shapes, and you'll receive loot from doing this. And interestingly enough, you will receive a legendary slurp juice from doing this, which is one of the best healing items we've ever had in Fortnite. It's not really something that I think I would want to land here specifically for that, but if you are landing at the power plant, by the time you clear it, the meltdown will probably start to happen, and then you can quickly kind of like solve that puzzle and then get some extra loot for yourself, which is, pretty helpful, especially getting one of the best healing items. Fortnite has already made a hotfix and made some small adjustments to the zones. The storm wait time for zones 1 through 4 were each reduced by 10 seconds, and the shrink time for zones 1, 2, and 3 were also reduced by 5 seconds. So a few of the zones got a little bit shorter. I don't think this is a significant enough change that people will really notice, but if you have been feeling like the games were super slow, this is maybe something that will kind of force it along. And then also the amount of supply drops were also adjusted for zones 4 and 5, going from 3 drops in each zone to 2 drops in zone 4 and 1 drop in zone 5. Those supply drops can be pretty helpful for getting mobility in the end game. And so now there's just going to be a bit less of them. But that is going to be it for this video. As always, if you guys did find this to be helpful, informative, or interesting, remember to give it a like, subscribe if you'd like to see more, comment down below what has helped you most this season, and I will see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching.